Metaphysics+Top 10,000 fans plus earning paper money and raising Ah Piao underground. Jiang Xunle is a Ah Piao who has consumed the incense of her descendants for 400 years in the underworld. Finally, her incense has been cut off, and she chose the latter between dying of poverty and going to the mortal world for self-reliance. The underground bully has become a detestable 18th-tier celebrity. Participating in a romantic variety show, everyone else has sweet relationships, only she is ignored. Keyboardist. A useless person who knows nothing. Is it embarrassing to participate in a love show? Jiang Xunle, get out of the heartbeat signal program. The guests of the love show couldn't sit still. The king of songs said, I don't know anything. Seeking music. A Pipa divine song shocked the whole audience, reaching the pinnacle. The movie emperor said, I am proficient in the tea ceremony for seeking pleasure. A pot of tea made with ancient methods is unforgettable to me, and my thorough understanding of the tea ceremony makes me bow down. The national goddess said, she doesn't know anything. She can easily use the ancient method of incense and massage. National girl. I don't know anything. Have you ever seen my sister Jiang hitting Ah Piao with her bare hands? She's so handsome. Everyone was stunned and turned their gaze to the last top-tier student. What else can she do? She's very good at teasing, said the top-tier student. Until the end of the love show, Jiang Xunle successfully received the heartfelt votes of all the guests. The netizen exploded. Watching her go from being ignored to being praised by the stars. Netizens. I'm willing to listen to Jiang Jie's begging for a class, no matter how much it costs. Jiang Xunle compared the numbers and said, 500 million paper money. She still has a bunch of Ah Piao little brothers to raise underground. Keywords of the novel. I, who hold a fan fiction script, am in love with Shark Crazy without a pop-up window. I, who hold a fan fiction script, am in love with Shark Crazy. Download the full text of Love with Shark Crazy. I, who hold a fan fiction script, am in love with Shark Crazy. Read the latest chapter of Love with Shark Crazy. Chapter 1. The divine melody of the Pipa amazes the king of songs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The divine melody of the Pipa amazes the king of songs. Hey. In the dimly lit space, there was chaos, and Jiang Xunle, dressed in a red robe, lay lazily on the ground sighing. It has been 2 years since no one gave her money to burn paper, and Jiang Xunle is too poor to support her own group of little brothers. This is the 400th year of her death, and her descendants above her have made great achievements. Every year, they burn a lot of paper money for her, and Jiang Xunle relies on this money to make a living in the underworld. But I don't know what happened to her descendants. Her wallet has not been credited for a long time and is in jeopardy. Boss, you can go up and make some money. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't be able to survive. From behind came shouts and pleadings, and Jiang Xunle turned to look. The magnificent Ah Piao gathered into a sea of ghosts not far away, with no end in sight. Jiang Xunle crossed his knees and palmed his hands to the ground, looking restless. A bunch of useless things, he said after raising them for hundreds of years. I haven't seen a ghost that can only transform into a physical entity. A group of people trembled in fear of being slapped to death. They shut up. They dare not speak anymore. Ghosts can become like ordinary people when their strength reaches a certain level, so that they can live normally on the ground. Jiang Xunle is one of them. Despite all the roast, Jiang Xunle still drew an array and stepped on it. If nothing else, she had to see what happened to her descendants on it. If the door is really shut down, who will burn paper money for her in the future? She doesn't want to work in the mortal world for a lifetime, she just wants to enjoy the incense in the underworld. The ground and the underworld are two distinct worlds, with a clear distinction between them. After Jiang Xunle entered the formation, a burst of residual light swept by and then fell into darkness. Jiang Xunle randomly selected the body of a dying person, and she possessed it just because she felt it was much more convenient than walking on land without any name or distinction. Opening her eyes again, a small face the size of a palm approached, and Jiang Xunle could even see the distinct eyelashes on her almond eyes. "Ah. I thought something was wrong with you sitting there motionless, but suddenly opening your eyes startled me." The girl patted her chest with lingering palpitations on her face. Jiang Xunle only glanced at her and her name came to mind. Lin Zhangzhang. The original owner was a young celebrity with no scenes to shoot on the 18th tier. He broke through and participated in several popular variety shows, but his speech was boycotted by the entire internet due to his simple mind and lack of emotional intelligence. Due to her popularity, she gradually gained popularity and was fortunate enough to be on the same romantic show as several popular artists in the entertainment industry. This is the variety show currently being filmed, and Lin Zhangzhang is a popular influencer, one of the 3 female guests. She is particularly skilled in bundled marketing, stepping on and holding on to each other. She approached Jiang Xunle to create a topic and gain more traffic. Another female guest walked over and whispered, seeking pleasure, "Were you okay just now?" Jiang Xunle's bright face lit up with a smile, "It's okay, I was just a little tired just now." This smile added some color to the lifeless face, and the originally delicate but still features seemed to come to life. The guests who were watching Jiang Xunle were all stunned at the same moment. Jiang Xunle didn't pay attention to them when his phone screen suddenly lit up and a barrage of comments from netizens caught his eye. Jiang Xunle just closed his eyes and pretended to be dead on purpose, right? Just to scare us, Zhangzhang. What ingredients are they? They're really annoying. Feeling sorry for Zhangzhang, I scared the child. Let Jiang Xunle accumulate some virtue. Those people upstairs, can they die from being scared once? Jiang Xunle put on his phone and smiled faintly. Before doing anything else, he had to solve the physical dilemma of this body. This is her, who can be cursed by netizens for thousands of words even when she opens her eyes. But she has already experienced great storms, which is nothing to her. Heartbeat Signal is a romantic variety show consisting of 3 men and 3 women. Currently, the singer King has a favorable impression of Lin Zhangzhang, while the remaining popular actors and actresses have a favorable impression of another female guest, Shen Yan. Only oneself is in a state of indifference. But what is there? Isn't it about unleashing one's charm and making people admire one's own strength? What's so difficult about this? Jiang Xunle raised his eyes and saw the ripples of light flowing through, like a floating emerald and flowing pill. At this moment, her purpose was extremely strong. One is not enough. Her goal is to win everything. Unable to resist a few breaths, someone wanted to become a demon again. Lin Zhangzhang muttered softly, "But you just scared me, so sad." Jiang Xunle raised his eyebrows and said, "So what do you want to do?" Lin Zhangzhang is like this, taking the root of White Lotus acting coquettishly, which makes many netizens unable to stop, and is known as the daughter of the nation. Seeking pleasure, I remember you were very good at playing the pipa. Lin Zhangzhang glanced at a pile of instruments not far away. Can you just play one for me to listen to and keep my mind quiet? Jiang Xunle smiled and said, "There's no way to deal with you. I am truly grateful for the opportunity presented by Lin Zhangzhang." She was just thinking about how to let nature take its course and not suddenly catch the attention of the singing king. The original owner didn't know how to play musical instruments. He was mocked by the whole internet for playing the wrong note in a small variety show. Lin Zhangzhang must have known about this and wanted Jiang Xunle to make a fool of himself. But before her death, Jiang Xunle was a wealthy young lady who was carefully trained and proficient in the 4 arts. She was unparalleled at that time, and even now her deeds can still be traced. A smile of success flashed across Lin Zhangzhang's face, and the barrage of bullets also flashed open. Family members, I'll turn off the live broadcast for a while. I really don't want my ears to suffer. Bring me along, I don't want to hear people without culture or background play the piano. Help, I think Jiang Xunle's sentence about you has no way to spoil you, I hit it. Upstairs, knocking on anything will only harm you. Jiang Xunle did not refuse. The moment she hugged the Pipa, it seemed as if her soul had returned to the high-walled courtyard that was restricted everywhere 400 years ago. The simple white fingers plucked the strings of the Pipa, the music was gentle and slow like the wind, then urgent like a sudden rain, like crying, outlining the sorrow of being born as a bird in a cage, until the final liberation and freedom. Her fingering is gentle, her tone is melodious, and the entire piece carries a soothing meaning to the heart. After a song, the barrage came to a standstill, and the scene remained silent. The king of songs was the first to come to his senses, his face flushed with excitement, and his palms clapped with a snap. Playing so well. Seeking joy, you must have been practicing the pipa for a long time, right? I'm flattered, Jiang Xunle thought for a moment. It's been over 10 years. After too long, she couldn't remember. She raised her eyes and looked at Lin Zhangzhang awkwardly. How are you? Are you feeling better now? Lin Zhangzhang's scheme failed and his face blushed with embarrassment. It's okay, it doesn't sound very outstanding, he said before Jiang Xunle could even speak. The Song King spoke out and retorted, the art of seeking music is already at its peak, which is a level that ordinary people cannot reach in their lifetime. Lin Zhangzhang looked at him, feeling somewhat aggrieved and stopped speaking. The long silent barrage finally erupted at this moment. Damn it, my soul was just hooked away by this woman. The King of Songs has an absolute sense of sound, and if he can praise someone for reaching the pinnacle, then it's definitely not bad. I also studied the pipa, but the performance of my elderly teacher during his peak period was not as good as the one Jiang Xunle just played. Hee, a flashy dog. The new book is coming, thank you for your support. Then let's talk about the setting of the female lead again here. Jiang Xunle is an Ah Piao who has been crawling and rolling in the underworld for hundreds of years. As a human, all the emotions she should have had been worn away, and she always looks at whether she can bring benefits to herself in her actions. On the surface, she is beautiful, understanding, and captivating, while her true personality is a cold palace scheming Ah Piao. Life is like a play, devoid of emotions, relying entirely on acting skills. There is no male protagonist in this book, and Jiang Xunle, amidst the myriad of flowers, leaves remain untouched. No one can become the harbor where she stays. It's already written clearly here. Friends who like the true, kind, and beautiful female protagonist can move on finally. Thank you to the babies for their support. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Tea Ceremony, featuring the Tea Party actor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Tea Ceremony, featuring the Tea Party actor. The lively barrage brushing. The director here assigned a new task, and Jiang Xunle opened a note that said to prepare dinner for each group. Guests can be grouped freely, so who will be in the same group? Shen Yan is a beautiful woman with a very light temperament. Unlike Lin Zhangzhang, she does not compete or compete. The actor and Xiaosheng have also expressed their affection for her. Within 2 minutes of the task being assigned by the production team, 2 men walked towards Shen Yan coincidentally. Shen Yan smiled and said, "Then let me cook dinner tonight." She looked at the actor, the meaning was self-evident. Seeing this scene, little fresh meat understood everything and walked to the side in disappointment. Okay, the actor nodded. Lin Zhangzhang didn't care about the fact that the Song King had just helped Jiang Xunle talk. She looked at the Song King with expectant eyes. Lin Zhangzhang's fans went crazy on the barrage. Woo Song King, quickly agree to Zhangzhang. Our Zhangzhang is so good, everyone should like her. Let me see the scene where the Song King chooses Zhangzhang to abandon Jiang Xunle. Come on, let me see. Didn't you see that the Singer King's eyes were all on Jiang Xunle? As netizens guessed, the singer only glanced at Lin Zhangzhang, hesitated for a moment, and then walked towards Jiang Xunle. Lin Zhangzhang bit his lower lip and almost shed tears of sadness. Watching it make fans feel a wave of heartache and frenzy. The king of songs walked up to Jiang Xunle, his eyes blazing as he said, "It's a pity I didn't get to know you earlier. Let me formally introduce you. My name is Gu Lian." Jiang Xunle is accustomed to this kind of expression. Those high-ranking officials who admired him during his lifetime and the Ah Piao people in the underworld all looked like this. It's not too late to get to know each other now. Jiang Xunle's beautiful and sharp eyebrows and eyes curved. Finally, Lin Zhangzhang and Xiaosheng, who were not successfully grouped, naturally joined the same group. Shen Yan and the actor get along very well, and the dinner they make is also very delicious. After dinner, everyone chatted in the living room, and Jiang Xunle didn't know much about many things they talked about. After all, in the 400 years of the underworld, there was a disconnect from the times, and some things and vocabulary needed to be gradually understood. But Jiang Xunle has met all kinds of people, and one can guess their personalities from the content of their conversations. For example, Gu Lian is the kind of big brother who takes care of others. When he doesn't speak, he occasionally talks to me and helps me get more shots. Actor and Shen Yan are both quiet personalities, and their personalities are similar. Both companies also intend to make them play CP. Lin Zhangzhang is the person behind the show's main support, while Xiaosheng is very shy. Jiang Xunle knew well that there was no camera to sit and listen to their conversation. With a glance in her eyes, she saw a good set of tea utensils on the table and casually brewed tea. After King Gu, it's time for the best actor. The actor is an old cadre who loves to drink tea the most in his daily life. Sure enough, as soon as she moved, the production team shifted the camera to herself. Jiang Xunle ignored it and focused on brewing tea. Order soup, filter milk, add water, warm cup. Divide the tea, with a set of movements that flow like flowing water, pleasing to the eye, and the tea fragrance overflowing. The actor became even less talkative when he noticed that Jiang Xunle had started brewing tea. His eyes were fixed on her movements and he spoke in surprise, "Do you know tea ceremony? Your techniques are a bit different from those I have seen before." Jiang Xunle took a sip of the tea cup and hooked his lips. This is a secret recipe from ancient times. She studied under a famous teacher, and her Pipa skills were at their peak, so the tea ceremony naturally did not fall behind. The actor carefully picked up the tea and tasted it. The strong aroma of the tea made his eyes burst with amazement. "It smells so good." He took another sip in disbelief and said, "I've never tasted such fragrant tea before." Jiang Xunle chuckled lightly, "Not surprising. The tea ceremony has endless mysteries, which is why it can be called the Tao. If you go wrong in any step, it will not be the same taste. But this era is too impetuous, and the ancient tea ceremony inevitably loses some of its former charm in this world." Everyone else also picked up a cup upon seeing it, and after tasting it, their eyes unanimously flashed with amazement. Shen Yan savored the aroma of tea between his lips and teeth. "I don't understand this, but Yunja's favorite is tea, and the tea he can approve of is not bad." Only Lin Zhangzhang finished his drink and lay down on the sofa, pursing his lips and feeling guilty in his heart. "It's also average." Lin Zhangzhang looked at Jiang Xunle, who was at the center of everyone's conversation. The other person's eyes were always light, and when they laughed, they would bend into a hook, with a deeper charm. Her Gu Lian was hooked away like this. Gu Lian's gaze towards Jiang Xunle became more focused. "Xunle, you are really the best person I have ever seen. What else do you have that you don't know?" Perhaps Gu Lian's seriousness was too obvious, and the barrage instantly exploded. "I rely on myself. The singer king has completely fallen into a trap. What should I do with my chapter? Can the production team arrange a script, like my family's Zhang Zhang, who is a huge fan? You guys are so addicted to the movie Emperor, shouldn't you also be like the king of songs?" "Shut up, shut up. Lock my house, Shen Yan, and the actor, they are the right couple. Jiang Xunle took a sip of tea, hiding the rising smile. As an old greaseball who has lived for hundreds of years, she has been surrounded by stars since childhood. She knows best how to guide the light to herself. But the more times it is, the more careful and cautious it is, otherwise praise will also become praise. Yungu clearly developed a strong interest in Jiang Xunle and held her for a long time to discuss the tea ceremony. When it comes to forgetting oneself, I even forgot about Shen Yan's existence, and others find it difficult to disturb me by speaking out and doing other things on the side. It wasn't until late at night that Yungu regained consciousness and smiled awkwardly at her. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. Jiang Xunle shook his head and said, No, I had a great time chatting with you. She pressed on the sour back of her neck, showing a look of, I'm tired, but I just enjoy chatting with you. Life is like a play, devoid of emotions, relying entirely on acting skills. Jiang Xunle let out a few clicks in his heart. This scene moved Yunja's eyes for a moment, followed by an uncontrollable joy. At the moment Jiang Xunle stood up, his body froze and his phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. The house where the love show was filmed is unusual. It was late at night, and some things ran out. Gu Lian, who had been keeping a jealous eye on Jiang Xunle, saw that something was wrong with her and asked, Xunle, what's wrong? Jiang Xunle shook his head and said, It's just that at night, the air conditioning becomes heavier. Gu Lian looked at the dark sky outside the window and said, Yes, you should go back to your room and rest quickly. Don't freeze. Okay. Jiang Xunle casually grabbed a shawl to wrap around. Ordinary people can only see the gradually darkening night sky, while Jiang Xunle can see the Ah Piao people waving their teeth and claws in front of Gu Lian under the night sky. One of them would show off his dropped eyeballs in front of Gu Lian, with a long strand of blood pulling at the other end of his eyeballs. They were within reach, but fortunately Gu Lian couldn't see them, otherwise a big man would have been frightened and mentally disturbed. This house was built on a cemetery. But there are no sharp ghosts, they are just little ghosts who dare not come out during the day and like to come out and play pranks at night. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. It's better to rely on me than on men. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. It's better to rely on me than on men. Jiang Xunle didn't care about these things. They were all of the same kind and didn't cause any impact on her. She wouldn't take action. Because tomorrow we have to shoot early in the morning, all the guests go to bed early, but late at night is currently the most active time for netizens. Today, Jiang Xunle is both showcasing his Pipa skills and a secret tea ceremony made by ancient methods. After a day of fermentation, his popularity skyrocketed unstoppably, steadily ranking among the top 3 on the trending list. Jiang Xunle's image of being blacklisted across the internet began to slowly reverse without realizing it. This is the progress she wants, but it's not enough. The next day, Lin Zhangzhang leaned back in his chair with a lack of interest. She is the main fan behind this program and wants to use bundled marketing methods. Both bundling and pulling were unsuccessful, and she didn't know what to do next. Lin Zhangzhang anxiously picked up the hot water on the table and wanted to pour it into the teacup. Wait. Yungu stopped in time. Lin Zhangzhang was taken aback for a moment, and then saw Yunj take the kettle in his hand and put it in front of Jiang Xunle. He felt embarrassed and said, Xunle, can we brew tea again? I've been drinking your tea yesterday and I can't forget that fragrance. Jiang Xunle arranged the tea utensils neatly and chuckled lightly upon hearing the words, sure. Lin Zhangzhang's face became increasingly foul-smelling, and he happened to look up and see Shen Yan who had just come downstairs. She began to provoke with a strange tone. You two are a great match, one knows tea ceremony and the other loves drinking tea. If only we had known each other earlier, but it's not too late now. Isn't this love story just an opportunity for you two? Upon hearing these words, Shen Yan was stunned on the stairs, her lips pale. In the end, she passed by everyone without saying a word and went outside. The barrage was quickly occupied by Xunyan's fans. Yen looks so sad, why doesn't the actor go after him? He, the actor is obsessed with tea ceremony, where did he get the time? Why did Lin Zhangzhang say such things? His emotional intelligence is so low, it would be great if there was no Jiang Xunle, why should there be Jiang Xunle? At this moment, the tea was ready, and Jiang Xunle recalled Xunyan's recent state and found an excuse to leave. Just now, Xunyan's face was pale and uncomfortable, and now the sun is shining brightly. Going out should be very uncomfortable. Jiang Xunle turned his head to look at Yungu, who was obsessed with tea and had no idea about Xunyan's condition, and raised his eyebrows and sighed slightly. What kind of man do you rely on? Where can she help? Jiang Xunle wandered around and found Xunyan in a cool place. She took away half a bottle of mineral water that had been drunk next to her and sat down. Are you feeling unwell? I feel a bit dizzy and nauseous, Xunyan replied softly. Xunyan is a gentle beauty like a gentle breeze. Even though she was provoked by Lin Zhangzhang just now, she doesn't show any hostility towards Jiang Xunle when we get along. I know some massage techniques, can I help you press them? Jiang Xunle's fingers pressed her temples, yin tang, and renzhong acupoints respectively. Xunyan, who initially resisted, gradually calmed down, his face softened, and he carefully felt the appropriate force on the acupoints. Suddenly, something was stuffed into her hand. She opened her eyes and heard Jiang Xunle say, "This is my homemade fragrance, which is very effective in relieving headaches." Xunyan's expression was soft as she clenched her sachet and said, "Thank you, you're really nice. It's very different from the rumors online." Jiang Xunle slightly moved Xunyan to a more comfortable position and said, "People, as complex animals, may not necessarily be true when interacting with each other, let alone rumors online." Xunyan nodded in agreement. The camera of the production team captured this scene, and the barrage began to howl. Massage, pillow on Jiang Xunle's thigh for massage. Crazy, isn't it more fragrant than coming to the male guest group CP? Suddenly, Jiang Xunle changed her mind. She was really kind-hearted. The actor who was just a partner didn't notice that Yan's expression was not right, only she followed him out. Woo, a beautiful person with a kind heart. Jiang Xunle glanced at the barrage on his phone and a satisfied expression flashed through his eyes. It's the effect she wants. When the two of them returned, the others were chatting happily, but Jiang Xunle saw a silent little fresh meat in the corner. He was carving something seriously with a small knife, and Jiang Xunle just glanced back. Xiaosheng has a shy personality and finds it difficult to immerse himself in such a lively atmosphere. Although it may seem difficult to strategize, it is actually the best strategy. He usually stays quietly by himself, but he has a lot of fans. Even when he sits quietly, there are many topics to discuss. If it were for Jiang Xunle before, it would have been a little transparent. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye, and Jiang Xunle gradually watched the wooden carving take shape in the hands of little fresh meat, like a little rabbit. She will occasionally go over to guide, and at the same time, her development with others is also very smooth, except for Lin Zhangzhang. At the same time, several guests received new notes distributed by the program team. It is an entertainment venue prepared by the production team, and you can ask what you want to ask at KTV. Jiang Xunle picked his eyes lightly and said, "Is playing KTV really a big adventure?" The production team is well prepared, with all necessary equipment and ambient lighting arranged at a thoughtful angle. Jiang Xunle was the last one to arrive. In her words, of course, the spotlight will come to an end. Jiang Xunle glanced at the location of the scene and found that the seats next to the singer king and the actor were all available for her. The two of them looked at her with equal anticipation, hoping that Jiang Xunle could sit next to them. But Jiang Xunle didn't have it. She directly found a seat with no one on either side. The next second, the singer king and the actor walked over and occupied the empty space on her left and right. The barrage burst into laughter, and in the past 3 days, the rivalry between the king of songs and the actor has become a daily routine that both passers-by and fans enjoy watching. The king of songs reacted faster than the veteran actor. He picked up the microphone first and invited Jiang Xunle to sing together. Jiang Xunle pushed the microphone he handed over and refused with a faint smile, "I'm a bit tired, so I won't sing." At this moment, she needs to be impartial and not engage in any intimate behavior to avoid the consequences. In the end, Gu Yan could only sing one song alone. The singer was truly the king of songs, with a deep foundation. After completing the song, the guests unanimously praised it. But he stared seriously at Jiang Xunle, not wanting to move away for a second. Perhaps it is because Gu Yan has recently completely ignored Lin Zhangzhang, and she is no longer interested in this person who initially planned to speculate on CP. Seeing this scene also allows one to avoid being jealous and sour. Halfway through the play, Jiang Xunle discovered that Xiaosheng had called Shen Yan out. Not long after, only Shen Yan returned with a normal expression, and there was no sign of little fresh meat in sight for half a day. Jiang Xunle used the excuse of using the restroom to leave the private room, took a detour, and found a small fresh meat with its back against the trees. He has a tall and upright posture, and the light shining on his superior profile forms a clear boundary, truly deserving of his frequently handsome appearance that makes him stand out from the crowd. The sound of Jiang Xunle's walking caught his attention, and he saw the woman standing under the lamp with a slight profile. A pure black wavy curl, a slim red skirt, exuding a myriad of charm. The barrage seems to have anticipated something. Oops. Sisters. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. All nationals and daughters of traffic Xiaosheng are captured. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. All nationals and daughters of traffic Xiaosheng are captured, that's it. This beautiful woman who committed murder has started again. Is Jiang Xunle starting to attack my family Yi? The attack is okay, we need to take responsibility. Yi, such a silly and foolish child, how could he resist this bad woman? Ha, I seem to have seen him become like a singer king and an actor. Li Zai politely nodded at her and said, Sister Jiang. He has been calling her that all these 3 days. Jiang Xunle really likes him calling him his sister, which gives her a sense of excitement when she starts targeting a little boy. Aren't you happy? Jiang Xunle walked up to him, and the warm light made her eyebrows and eyes less sharp and more gentle. Li Zai took out a rabbit wood carving from his hoodie pocket and chuckled, I didn't send out the small gift. He accidentally saw the scene of Shen Yan feeding rabbits before, and only then did he want to carve this one. With the help of Jiang Xunle, he also carved it for many days. If asked if he really likes Shen Yan, he doesn't know. Li Zai just wants someone in this variety show to belong to him. Jiang Xunle could tell that in this variety show, only Li Zai truly wanted to find a romantic relationship. Many netizens have also understood, especially Li Zai's fans who are crazy in the barrage. Yi, don't be a romantic brain. I reached my peak through this child's debut, with millions of fans. Why does it look so lacking in love so popular? Yi, start your career, start your career. Who said they didn't send it out? Jiang Xunle felt the disappointment on his face and reached out to take the rabbit wood carving in his palm. Give it to me, I like it. The wooden carving is small and exquisite, and the eyes adorned with cinnabar resemble Li Zai's often rosy peach blossom eyes. Li Zai raised his eyes in awe, and coincidentally met Jiang Xunle. He could see only his reflection in the other person's deep phoenix eyes. My heart was beating like a drum, and Li Zai slowed down before speaking, don't you mind if I didn't send it out? Upon hearing this, Jiang Xunle smiled and raised her hand to touch Li Zai's head, but he instinctively lowered his head as well. The soft fur sensation in her palm made her squint with pleasure. "It's not important, what's important is that it's the first product we worked together on," she said. Li Zai's expression hidden in the night was stunned, and then a blush quickly rose from his ear. Silence is better than sound at this moment. After returning to the private room, Jiang Xunle lazily leaned against the sofa, shaking the wine glass in his hand. In the dimly lit room, another gaze remained on her, just as blazing as the other two. Jiang Xunle took a sip of wine, and the expected smile in his eyes was buried in the flickering light. Shen Yan walked over with a wine bottle and invited, seeking pleasure, "Are you really going on a big adventure?" When asked this question, the other guests were all nervously watching Jiang Xunle. Tonight, they relied on their sincere words to figure out which person she was interested in. Jiang Xunle didn't disappoint them either. He put down his glass with a faint smile and said, "Okay." At the moment when the bottle turned towards him, Jiang Xunle guessed what they were asking. "Want to extract words from her mouth?" "No way." Shen Yan asked, seeking pleasure, "Describe your favorite guest in one sentence." Everyone perked up their ears in anticipation of her answer. You should know that the three male guests had vastly different personalities, and any word or phrase could make them guess who they were. "Far in the sky, close in front of me." Male guest's great disappointment. Shen Yan couldn't help but laugh out loud. Jiang Xunle reached out and scratched her chin, "Now even you've learned to make fun of me." The lively and peaceful atmosphere here has nothing to do with Lin Zhangzhang. She had already returned to the house where the love show was filmed. "Because I have been constantly confronting Jiang Xunle in the past few days, I can no longer integrate into them." Lin Zhangzhang was wrapped in an air-conditioned blanket, feeling flustered in her heart. As she was half asleep and half awake, the sound of seduction lingered in her ears. "Do you hate it? Are you really willing to go from being surrounded by stars to being ignored? Don't you want to go back to the beginning?" The seductive voice tugged at Lin Zhangzhang in a few words. "As long as you're willing, I can help you get rid of that woman." At this moment, there was no wind in the room, but something automatically made a sound, and Lin Zhangzhang's eyes couldn't open. She was very scared, as if she had encountered a ghost. Lin Zhangzhang clenched the corner tightly and pretended to be dead. Outside the corridor, because the love show ended tomorrow, Jiang Xunle had a lot of things to organize and came back early. When she returned to her room, she would pass by Lin Zhangzhang's door, and when Jiang Xunle approached, she noticed something was wrong. She stopped in front of Lin Zhangzhang's room, feeling the yin energy inside, to the point where even the crack in the door below revealed a hint of black mist. Jiang Xunle kicked open the door while stepping on Hentian Gao, and what caught his eye was a female ghost with a cracked head lying in Lin Zhangzhang's ear, screaming in anger, "Don't pretend to be dead. Give me your body quickly." This kind of ghost wants to take away their body but lacks that strength, and can only rely on deception to make people's minds unstable. Lin Zhangzhang was so scared that he trembled under the covers, his lips pale and his forehead covered in cold sweat. Jiang Xunle strode over and flipped the female ghost with one foot, his slender and high heels sticking directly into her neck. The female ghost's painful eyeballs protruded, crying and howling. She widened her eyes and looked at Jiang Xunle. "You actually hit me for her. How could she fight her own kind for a woman?" Jiang Xunle. She withdrew her foot and gave a warning glance at the female ghost, "Get lost." This glance made the female ghost fall into an ice cave, as if she had been stared at by something terrifying. She trembled and held back her protruding eyeballs, crawling back into the grave. Scared to death, scared to death. She will never come out again to take possession of anything. She still wants to live. The temperature inside the house, which had dropped to freezing point, gradually warmed up as the female ghost left, and Lin Zhangzhang's trembling body gradually calmed down. She closed her eyes tightly, and Jiang Xunle's soothing voice came from beside her, "Don't be afraid." Jiang Xunle was about to lift his foot and leave, but his wrist was caught. Lin Zhangzhang instinctively grasped the safe source tightly, and Jiang Xunle's original intention of brushing her hand was halted before sitting down by her bed. Jiang Xunle stayed by Lin Zhangzhang all night like this. Of course, she could have collected all the ghosts in this house and let Lin Zhangzhang sleep well, but how could this show her beautiful and kind-hearted side? If she does it, she must be visible to people. Until the arrival of the program team at dawn, Jiang Xunle smiled and answered the staff's questions. Zhangzhang was not feeling well last night. I came back early and took care of her for a while. Lin Zhangzhang twisted his expression and nodded. It's like this. The members of the production team were a bit dazed. Aren't these two always at odds with each other? What happened after one night? The netizens in the live broadcast room are crazy. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. She was unanimously elected. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. She was unanimously elected. Did you take care of me all night? I have completely turned fans. Jiang Xunle is really beautiful and kind-hearted. The past grudges can be forgiven, and we can afford to let them go. The entertainment industry needs artists with such grandeur. Look, they're holding their hands. It's still Zhang Zhang's pleasure-seeking. I'm really crazy, gentle, patient, and charming. Who understands me, big star? The variety show Heartbeat Signal came to an end, and in the last hour, Lin Zhangzhang came over crying and apologizing. Sister Jiang, I'm sorry. Lin Zhangzhang nervously grabbed his clothes at this moment. I'm sorry for bringing malice to you from the beginning, and thank you for never taking my unruly behavior to heart. I regret spending all these short days competing with you, and I hope to have the opportunity to cooperate with you in the future. Lin Zhangzhang looked up and her expression was very serious. I won't be messing around anymore, it's the kind of cooperation that comes with being friends. There will be. Jiang Xunle didn't pay much attention to Lin Zhangzhang's unruly behavior from beginning to end. A little girl in her 20s is just a child to her, after all, she has existed for hundreds of years. Finally, there is the voting session, where you vote for your favorite guest. This is also the most anticipated stage for everyone. Who will Jiang Xunle vote for? How many more tickets will she receive? Everyone had a thought in their hearts, afraid that all three male guests had voted for her. But when the members of the production team came to Jiang Xunle holding the red box, everyone instinctively held their breath. Jiang Xunle flipped the box upside down and several pieces of paper fell out. The program team members and netizens in the live broadcast room are counting. 1, 2, 3. 5. Everyone was shocked, everyone. The barrage exploded. This woman, she kills both men and women. You all get up, my family's smoking and pleasure-seeking are a pair. Thousands of people are begging the production team to hurry up and broadcast the blood book, and I also want to watch Jiang Xunle's beautiful and murderous behavior end times. Lock my house, Yi and Jiang Xunle, don't get involved. The compatibility between a million fans and a little milk dog Max. I don't believe it, there must be a dark side, unless Sister Jiang also brings me into the harem to let me know if she has this ability. Your abacus has shattered my face, but aren't you curious who Jiang Xunle voted for? The program team didn't say anything. After the live broadcast was closed, a post with the name Jiang Xunle quickly became a hot search topic, with 8 of the top 10 hot searches featuring her. Hashtag Jiang Xunle's shark went crazy in the heartbeat signal hashtag on Jiang Xunle and who has the strongest CP sense hashtag who did Jiang Xunle vote for hashtag what made many netizens curious was the third hot search, but soon the program team posted on Weibo. Heartbeat signal V at Yunjit Shenyan at Li Zai at Jiang Xunle, thank you for your cooperation in filming these days and presenting a wonderful story to everyone. Looking forward to our next cooperation. Finally, if you are curious about who Jiang voted for, let's look forward to the broadcast of heartbeat signal. Netizens are indignant. It's best for the program team to keep the address hidden. Contributed so much playback, but in the end, it really piqued their appetite. But no matter how much trouble netizens make, before this variety show airs, no one except the guests and the program team will know the answer. After the variety show ended, Jiang Xunle became very popular and countless resources went to the company. In the past, the agency that treated her as a transparent presence immediately replaced her with a well-known agent and team when she became popular. The new agent is preparing to carefully select a few good scripts for Jiang Xunle and let her stay at home obediently for now. Jiang Xunle has no intention of leaving the circle after participating in the heartbeat signal. One is that they cannot afford to pay a sky-high penalty for breach of contract. The second is to make money quickly. In addition to making cryptocurrency, she also has to earn money. After all, she will have to live on it for a long time. Jiang Xunle hasn't been idle these days. She flew around with her sword and helped people solve a few strange things, earning some money. At the same time, she also extracted some useful information from those Ah Piao's mouth. For example, the underworld coins on the market are all fake now. To truly use the underworld coins, you need to enter the official website of the Heavenly Master to earn orders. All things in the world have the existence of mutual restraint. If there is a ghost, there is a celestial master. The celestial master also has family members in the underworld, so they also burn ghost coins every once in a while. In addition to the official website of the Heavenly Master, there are also beings in the Heavenly Master realm, but they are all little ghosts and do not know their specific locations. Jiang Xunle thought of this and sighed, when I was alive before, there was only a Heavenly Master village. I didn't expect that now there is a Heavenly Master realm. She was a young lady from a wealthy family before her death, but after being raided and wiped out, she went through countless difficulties to establish a new Jiang family. But the Jiang family that was later established was a Heavenly Master family, which should have gradually declined several hundred years after Jiang Xunle's death. No one has burned paper money for themselves for 2 years now. Jiang Xunle opened his computer, opened the website of the Heavenly Master that was asked by Ah Piao, and registered an account. With an account on the official website of the Heavenly Master, orders can be accepted, and completing tasks can earn the Heavenly Master certification. The more tasks completed, the higher the difficulty, and the higher the Heavenly Master rating on the official website. The privileges enjoyed are also different. The newly registered account of Jiang Xunle has not been rated yet. It will only appear after completing the task of accepting the order. She roughly glanced at the tasks posted on the official website and chose any one, regardless of the difficulty level. It was difficult for anyone on Earth to threaten her. The window pops up with task details. To save an elderly person possessed by a fierce ghost, please come to the following address within 2 weeks after receiving the order, difficulty level. Jiang Xunle raised his eyebrows. Can such a simple task be judged as S.level? The address is also in the capital city, not far away. What she didn't know was that at the moment she took on this order, a barrage of S.level tasks being taken down popped up on the homepage of the entire official website. The wandering celestial masters on the official website were stunned and engaged in intense discussions randomly. In the past 3 months, another big shot has taken on an S.level order. Let me see who it is. Don't look, it's a new account. Sigh, I really want to tell this newcomer that maliciously accepting orders on the official website of the Heavenly Master is not a good thing to eat. Don't think that way. What if it's a big shot who opened a small account? Do you believe this yourself? And so far, I haven't heard of anyone who can successfully expel the possessed ghost. The Heavenly Masters shook their heads. How are you, little ghost? Funny. Jiang Xunle didn't know that there were a group of celestial masters waiting to see her joke on the official website. She was packing up her things and completing the task as soon as possible. She has a bunch of little brothers to raise, how can such a big deal as earning ghost coins be delayed? To procrastinate while making money is to be poor for a lifetime. At the same time. Huancheng Jiang family villa. On the spacious bed lay a girl in white medical attire, with no blood on her face, and I still pity her. The private doctor frowned and said, "Master Jiang, Miss Air urgently needs a blood transfusion." Jiang's mother felt heartbroken when she saw her youngest daughter looking like this. Where is Jiang Xunle? Where did she become a demon again? Jiang Xunle is not here, who lost to Yuan's blood. Jiang's father sneered, his eyes filled with disgust. Recently, there have been so many gossip stories about her online, and she's having a lot of fun. How could she still be in the mood to care about her own sister's life and death? What is it to be with the best actor, singer, and national daughter, pedaling on several boats, being fickle and shameless? How could he bear such a wicked beast? Her sister is suffering here, why should she enjoy herself peacefully? Jiang's mother picked up the phone, her eyes full of dissatisfaction. Her garden was so weak that if Jiang Xunle had some conscience, he should go to the temple 3 steps at a time to pray for his sister's blessings. Instead of showing off when going out and completely disregarding the feelings of one's own sister. Why does Jiang Xunle have a life that Yuan cannot enjoy? Jiang Xunle, who was far away in the capital, was still focused on drawing symbols when suddenly the phone rang and she instinctively answered. The voice over there spoke confidently, "Your sister is ischemic. You need to go home for a blood transfusion within half an hour, otherwise your sister's condition will worsen." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Hemophilia, Mobile Blood Bank. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Hemophilia, Mobile Blood Bank. Jiang Xunle's hand paused as she frowned. Sister. A figure suddenly came to mind. Jiang Xunle was born into a wealthy family in Huancheng, with both parents and a younger sister, but her relationship with her family has always been bad. Jiang Yuan suffers from a rare hemophilia, and once the wound appears, it is difficult to heal and there is continuous blood flow. Jiang Xunle has become her mobile blood bank. Once there is a demand in Jiangyuan garden, Jiang Xunle must be on call. For over a decade, Jiang Xunle would resist and be knocked unconscious by his parents and forcibly taken away. He would lie in the hospital as a blood bank for several consecutive days, leading to Jiang Xunle's extremely poor health and premature death at a young age. Jiang Xunle listened to the still chattering voice on the phone, and his face turned cold. "Why don't you go and draw blood?" Jiang's mother was taken aback and scolded loudly, "How did you talk to me? Why did I go with you? You're her own sister. Aren't you her biological mother?" Jiang Xunle retorted. In her memory, Jiang Yuan had always been carefully taken care of by her father and mother due to her hemophilia. Her friends around her also held her in their palms, fearing that she might even touch her. Jiang Xunle used to not understand why Jiangyuan garden, which was surrounded by so many stars, would still suffer injuries every now and then. Until a few years ago, she witnessed Jiang Yuan cutting her wrist with a small knife in front of her and framing it for her. Jiang Xunle was speechless and was forcibly taken away for blood transfusion. Afterwards, he was also criticized by thousands of people and could never lift his head in the wealthy circle of Huancheng. Jiang's mother was stunned. Strange. How did Jiang Xunle become so bold? She never dared to speak to herself like this before. Is it because she has become popular now and has many fans who support her? Naive and ridiculous. She glared fiercely and threatened in a low voice, "My method is to have you come. Remember to be careful every time you go home." Previously, Jiang Xunle could not resist her, and now neither can she. "You're amazing, then." Jiang Xunle hung up the phone in a perfunctory tone. "Find someone to block her." Jiang Xunle sneered, and the talisman was too lazy to draw. He took a stack of yellow paper and planned to come to the scene to draw. On the other side of Huancheng, Jiang's mother trembled with anger as she looked at the hung-up phone. Under the urging of her private doctor time and time again, she lifted her sleeves and began a blood transfusion. She will eventually recover this account from that dead girl. Jiang Xunle found the address provided by the official website of the Heavenly Master and arrived at a manor. Outside the manor, there were strict layers of protection and strict screening of people entering. There are still quite a few people queuing up at the entrance. This is the Li family in the capital, one of the top wealthy families. The old lady of the Li family is seriously ill, and these people are all here to visit. Jiang Xunle's mask and duckbill cap covered most of his face and he lined up in the back row. The people queuing up in front occasionally hear whispers of discussion. Do you think the old lady of the Li family is really dying soon? The other person nodded meaningfully and said, there are rumors outside that people are seriously ill, but we both know that we have been possessed by evil spirits. The Li family has hired countless heavenly masters, but there is no way. How long can we live like this? Jiang Xunle wanted to continue listening when suddenly a roar came from behind. The loud noise caught the attention of many people, and the guards outside the estate showed dissatisfaction until they saw the people getting off the car, and their dissatisfaction turned into flattery. The guard raised a smile and approached, welcoming the elderly and young who got off the car. The old man was dressed in a grey robe, with greyish hair and an unfathomable appearance on his face, resembling an extraordinary expert. The girl next to her had a proud expression on her face and followed the old man step by step. Master Zhuo, Miss Zhuo. The guard greeted politely. The people in the queue were still thinking about who dared to be so reckless in the Li family, and most people understood when they heard the guard's words. The elderly one in front is one of the most powerful celestial masters in China, and the young girl behind is his granddaughter. Master Zhuo rarely fails when he takes action, and he has a high reputation in the circle of heavenly masters. Unexpectedly, the Li family has invited him over. If Master Zhuo really cured Mrs. Li, then the Li family in the capital would owe him a favor, and his status in the country would become even higher. Jiang Xunle's phoenix eyes hidden under the brim of his hat flickered, and his pitch-black eyes were filled with city secrets and calculations. The status of the Li family in the capital is not low, and they also have a certain appeal internationally. She wants this favor. Zhuo Yuan listened to the discussions in her ears, and her face became even more proud. She walked past the queue with a bag on her shoulder and happened to bump into Jiang Xunle. The sudden force did not make Jiang Xunle's figure move, but on the contrary, Zhuo Yuan stumbled and almost fell. Jiang Xunle's shoulder bag, which was exposed outside, was knocked over and smashed onto Zhuo Yuan's body. Zhuo Yuan's face turned black, and before she could say anything, she saw a pile of blank yellow paper falling out of her shoulder bag. She chuckled with an exaggerated tone and said, "Wow, the Heavenly Master came to inquire with a blank talisman. Can't you draw it?" The mockery in Zhuo Yuan's tone spread throughout the scene, and everyone looked over. The old man beside her showed no signs of blame, but instead looked at Jiang Xunle, who had a young appearance, with a hint of contempt in his eyes. Jiang Xunle ignored the girl's bird language and her eyes turned cold. "Pick it up," she said. Zhuo Yuan had just raised a hint of mockery at the corner of his mouth, but before he could say anything, he immediately exerted a strong force with a force of 1,000 pounds and 10,000 cauldrons towards her. Uncontrolled, he squatted down to pick up the bag on the ground and handed it to Jiang Xunle with both hands after packing the dropped items. Master Zhuo was stunned. When did his granddaughter become so polite? As usual, picking up the bag and smashing it on that person's face is considered good. But only Zhuo Yuan knew that when she faced the pitch-black phoenix eyes, she felt helpless and fearful, like falling into an abyss. Jiang Xunle put her bag back on her back for the guard's inspection. After she took out the order task on the official website of the Heavenly Master, the guard couldn't help but glance at her twice. Zhuo Yuan, who was still afraid, felt angry when he saw this scene. She had certainly heard of that S-level order being taken by a newcomer, but she never thought she would be so scared by this newcomer. The fear and pressure just now were completely gone, and she sneered, "You are that ignorant celestial master who came to help Mrs. Li treat her without even drawing talismans. I think you are just a deceitful swindler." Jiang Xunle looked at the girl in front of him with annoyance in his eyes. Both are stubborn and stubborn, why does this person dislike so much more than Lin Zhangzhang? Master Zhuo also spoke at this moment, "Child, this kind of task is not something you can handle. Go back as soon as possible to practice more Taoist skills, and don't be possessed by ghosts if you don't drive them away. Can you handle it?" Jiang Xunle asked back. Master Zhuo was stunned for a moment and said, "I can't do it. There is no precedent for successfully driving away the possessed ghost. This time, I'm just here to help Mrs. Li relieve her symptoms. Then you should go back and practice Taoism as soon as possible, so as not to be possessed by ghosts if exorcism fails." Jiang Xunle looked at this old and young person, his eyes full of excitement. After wandering around for a while, she thought she was some peerless expert. Turns out they're two rookies. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Symbol. It's really easier for me to draw than drinking water. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Symbol. It's really easier for me to draw than drinking water, puff. I don't know who in the crowd didn't hold back their laughter, and the old and the young turned pale. Jiang Xunle smiled and lowered his hat as he followed the guards into the manor. The guard led her to an empty hall and politely said, "Wait a moment, the master will come and talk to you in detail." Jiang Xunle nodded, and soon a sound of footsteps came from far to near. She looked up and saw a serious and steady middle-aged man. The other person looked at her with those eyes that could see the essence of things, and a hint of surprise flashed through their eyes. The head of the Li family was surprised by how young she looked, but as someone who had always held a high position, he knew that people should not only focus on their appearance but also ignore their essence. Miss Jiang Li, the head of the Li family, greeted her to take a seat and poured a cup of tea. "I won't say any more polite words. Before you come, you should have also inquired about the general condition of the old lady on the official website of the Heavenly Master. Here is a more detailed one for you to take a look at first." Li, the head of the Li family, handed her a document and said, "After reading it, I'll decide whether or not to take on this matter." Obviously, the head of the Li family did not show any contempt for her age, but also had doubts about her strength. Jiang Xunle was not angry either. She opened the document and carefully looked at it. Mrs. Li's transformation began 2 years ago, when one day her personality underwent a major change. At first, the Li family thought she was experiencing menopause again, until one day the old lady almost killed her beloved grandson. Afterwards, more and more strange things appeared in the manor, and the Li family only realized that something was wrong. Over the past 2 years, many celestial masters had confirmed that Mrs. Li had been possessed by a fierce ghost. Many celestial masters had fought against her, but they all returned with injuries. Later on, I invited several highly respected people and also said that unless Li Gui voluntarily left, Mrs. Li would not be saved. Even if she cast a spell to drive her away, Li Gui would have taken her life before that. And the ghost finally found a body. How could it possibly voluntarily leave? Miss Jiang, even if you can't drive that fierce ghost away, don't provoke it and worsen the old lady's condition, said Li, the head of the Li family with a worried expression on his forehead. Master Li, take me to take a look. Jiang Xunle put down the document and his voice fell silent. Inexplicably, it gave the head of the Li family some sense of conviction. When the two of them arrived, there was an indelible black mist in the room, with yin qi overflowing. Although there was only a thin line between them and the outside, the temperature was vastly different. The Li family kept Mrs. Li in a small space to prevent the evil spirits from escaping and injuring people's lives. There are other people in the room, including Master Zhuo and Zhuo Yuan. In the past few days, Mrs. Li has become increasingly irritable, and the Li family had no choice but to pay a large sum of money to invite Master Zhuo to help. The quiet needles in the room could be heard, and everyone held their breath as they looked at the old man with gray hair in the formation. Her wrist was bound by the chains generated by the formation, and Mrs. Li struggled from time to time. Her eyes opened with long sleepless bloodstains and a fierce crimson hue. Jiang Xunle stood by the door against the sunlight, with a darker face. Upon closer inspection, deep in her eyes was a fierce and indifferent expression similar to that of a fierce ghost. Perhaps with a strong gaze, the old man in the formation noticed her. Mrs. Li looked up and stared at her for a few seconds, then a sinister and eerie curve slowly rose from the corner of her mouth. Seeing the same kind makes one particularly envious. Jiang Xunle knew that Li Gui had noticed her, but he didn't care. The relationship between ghosts is very sensitive, even if they are possessed by humans, they can be seen through at a glance. Because yin qi is heavy, it should not appear on living people. Mr. Li asked, "Miss Jiang, are you confident?" Jiang Xunle nodded and gave him a brief answer that completely reassured him, "It's not difficult." Zhuo Yuan, who was inside the room, heard these words and felt extremely absurd. "It's not difficult." She looked at Jiang Xunle with disgust and said, "I hate people like you who boast too much. Even though you can't stand a trick under Li Gui's command, you insist on saving face in front of others. Have you ever thought about how to end up then?" Randomly Zhuo pointed at Jiang Xunle and said to the head of the Li family, "She's just deceiving you, an outsider. There's no precedent for Li Gui being driven away, and no one can do it. Even my grandfather can't do it. How could she possibly do it? And she's also someone who doesn't even know how to draw talismans. You don't know, her bag is filled with blank yellow paper." Zhuo Yuan raised his head, feeling proud that he had exposed her. Li, the head of the Li family, lowered his face and said, "I'm an outsider, right? But is Miss Zhuo questioning my ability to select people? This Zhuo is arrogant and disrespectful, imprisoning himself in narrow cognition. Did a generation of celestial masters teach their granddaughter to be like this?" Master Zhuo, who was stabilizing Mrs. Li's emotions, panicked and shouted, "How can I talk to Mr. Li? I haven't apologized yet. He is highly respected in the circle of celestial masters, but the Li family in the capital cannot afford to be provoked by his grassroots background." Zhuo Yuan's lips hesitated, refusing to speak. No matter how powerful the Li family is, they are just ordinary people. How can they bow their heads and admit their mistakes, as they are great masters? Jiang Xunle laughed and said, "Miss Zhuo, can't anyone create a precedent without precedent? The heavenly master is different from ordinary people and has stronger creativity. Is it difficult to set a precedent after achieving enlightenment?" She ignored Zhuo Yuan's reaction and took out a stack of talismans from her black shoulder bag. There were no patterns on the talismans, just like the girl said. Master Li's face hesitated, "Miss Jiang, how can I use the blank talisman?" The initial conviction that arose from Jiang Xunle's words was now somewhat shaky. A talisman requires a celestial master to carefully draw it in a quiet environment with a lot of time. The celestial master will carry pre-drawn talismans with him, but he has never heard of a celestial master carrying ordinary yellow paper. Of course, blank talismans cannot be used. Jiang Xunle's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. From the beginning until now, both Zhuo Yuan and the head of the Li family have paid special attention to her ordinary yellow paper. Jiang Xunle slowly developed a conjecture in his heart. She held a brush in her hand and spoke again, "I usually draw symbols on sight." Sure enough, Zhuo Yuan's incredulous scream confirmed her conjecture. How could it be? Being a talisman is as simple as drinking water, can you draw it if you want? Even her grandfather had to scrap 8 of his 10 paintings. The pen tip of Jiang Xunle's talisman did not pause at all, and it was completed in one go. A pattern was swiftly drawn under her pen, flowing like clouds and flowing water. Not a single stroke in 10 consecutive photos went wrong, all of them were extremely perfect finished products. As expected, is it true that the current Heavenly Master Dao has not been completed like this? Jiang Xunle is particularly fond of the time when her disciples from the Jiang family could draw talismans anytime and anywhere, which was not as difficult as Shui Yuan claimed. Jiang Xunle sighed in his heart. Time has changed, and it is inevitable that some things will fluctuate, decline, and be lost over time. Her actions stunned everyone present, including Master Zhuo, who had just stabilized Mrs. Li's emotions. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Human Relationship of the Li Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 9. Launch the first shot on the Tianshi official website. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Launch the first shot on the Tianshi official website. Mr. Li carefully helped Mrs. Li, who had fainted, and looked gratefully at Jiang Xunle. Miss Jiang, thank you so much. I wonder when Mrs. Li will wake up. Mrs. Li has been tormented by the fierce ghost for too long, and her body is weak. I have a bottle of elixir here, and if I take it, I will wake up. Jiang Xunle flipped his palm and a delicate porcelain bottle stood in his palm. It's hard to buy 1,000 pieces of gold. This was just a few decades ago when the little ghost under her command went to rob her of the same kind to show filial piety to her, and treating mortals was more than enough. Li, the head of the Li family, listened to the meaning behind her words and nodded solemnly. Thank you very much, Miss Jiang. 1,000 pieces of gold are hard to buy. That's to ask him to repay this bottle of medicine with kindness. This favor, the Li family will be undecided in the future. After receiving the desired response, Jiang Xunle handed him the porcelain vase. Watching Mr. Li take the pill for the old lady, the old man's eyelids trembled shortly after. This is the pill that works. In the pitch-black space, an old man sat quietly with a face similar to that of Mrs. Li. But unlike the old man who looked withered on the outside, she wore a dark gray qipao with neatly coiled grayish hair, and a calm and indifferent face with too many experiences. She is the real Mrs. Li, and in the past 2 years when she was replaced by a fierce ghost, she was sealed off. In the past 2 years, she has been groping around exhausted, trying to get rid of this desolate darkness, but to no avail. Her cry for help was swallowed up by the darkness, and only her slow heartbeat was heard in the space. Later, Mrs. Li gave up her struggle and began to accept fate. I thought today would be spent in the darkness as usual, but a beam of light hit her face and the intense light made her eyelids tremble. Mrs. Li, who had not seen the sunshine for a long time, adapted and opened her eyes. Then, she froze. Reflected in the eyes is a plain white hand, thoughtfully shielding itself from the drama light. The owner of the hand is a little girl who covers her face tightly. Only those exposed phoenix eyes were 3 points darker than the enclosed space she had stayed in. After realizing it, Mrs. Li's less clear eyes shed tears. She came out. Old lady. At this moment, the head of the Li family had already a runny nose and tears. Watching the scene of mother and son embracing each other, Jiang Xunle stood up without any waves. She is a ghost, crawling and rolling in the underworld for hundreds of years, and has long lost the human touch of a mortal body. Even if it occupies a body, she cannot feel it. Jiang Xunle, carrying a black bag, turned to Master Li and said, Master Li, my task has been completed. Could you please confirm it on the official website of the Heavenly Master? We will see you later. The Li family leader, who was stirring up emotions, nodded and wiped his tears. Zhuo Yuan, who had remained silent since the effectiveness of the Jiang seeking joy talisman, was prepared to be mocked when he saw her passing by. But not really. Some just ignored Jiang Xunle as he walked slowly without even turning his head. This made her feel more ashamed than being mocked and insulted by others, and Zhuo wished to flee the scene immediately. However, her unremarkable grandfather was still obsessed with studying the torn talismans on the ground. The official website of the Celestial Master Realm. The most popular order these days is the S.Level 1 that was taken away by the new account. The idle Celestial Masters with no orders in hand are all waiting to see a good show, and the forum below has been scrolling and scrolling. The previous second they were still thinking about how this newcomer would make a fool of themselves, and the next second the official website page popped up with the message that the S.Level mission had been completed. Where did you get the S.class? In the past 3 months, the only S.level task taken away is today's one. A thought came to mind in the minds of all the Celestial Masters wandering on the official website, and was immediately rejected by them. Impossible. Even if that newcomer really has such strength, how could an S.level task be completed so quickly? They lit up the barrage with a nervous heart. What caught the eye was S.level task. Drive away the fierce ghost has been completed. The official website of Tianshi has exploded. Looking back at that account again, it has obtained the Celestial Master logo, and its rating has been upgraded to S, prominently displayed behind its name. The name only has one river, but at this moment, it has stirred up countless experts gathering on the official website of the Heavenly Master. Damn it! Which old monster opened this account? Not that I said, your old lady has been possessed by a fierce ghost for 2 years, can she still be driven away? It's outrageous. Today's forum didn't go unnoticed, it made me realize that there are still such amazing people in the world. Today, on behalf of my family, I went to visit Mrs. Li, who was present at the scene. Jiang and Master Xue had a dispute, and she was not an old monster, but a very young girl, a female celestial master with such strong strength. I am already packing up and preparing to be married. The person who caused a stir on the official website of the Heavenly Master was stopped on the road by several bodyguards wearing black clothes. Jiang Xunle was having fun with his eyes, and his mother was about to take action. In my impression, every time I was tied up and forced to draw blood, it was the same posture. The man in black across from him was playing with the needle in his hand. Inside was the overpowering drug given to them by Jiangmu, and several big men faced a woman. Just looking at his body shape is an overwhelming advantage, and none of them have given Jiang Xunle much attention. One of the people spoke up, "Miss, if you're sensible, please inject the medicine yourself and follow us. We big men are also too embarrassed to insult you, a little girl." Under the gradually darkening sky, they seemed to see the woman across from them throwing something at them. The thing gradually unfolded from a paper ball until it finally reached them, and they saw clearly that it was a semi-transparent ghost with teeth and claws open. The leading bodyguard received the strongest impact, and with a flip of his eyes, he was startled and fainted. 2 minutes later, in the quiet and deserted alley, the fierce ghost drifted in mid-air, tidying up its crumpled body. Jiang Xunle casually inserted the chopped needle into a person's body and said, "Go, give the person who hired you a call." The person kneeling on the ground saw this scene trembling and quickly took out their phone and dialed a number. At the moment when the phone was answered, his voice complained, "We won't do this order anymore. We will refund the money to your card later." Of course, he doesn't even know if he has the chance to give his employer a refund. Jiang's mother, who was taking care of her daughter in Huancheng, was still looking confused. She put down the bowl of soup and said, "What's going on?" Her daughter still needs Jiang Xunle's blood transfusion, how can these people say they don't do it or not? However, the person who answered the phone over there was a different person, and it was her familiar and unfamiliar voice. "Mrs. Jiang," she said. Jiang's mother's face froze and she said, "Jiang Xunle." Jiang Xunle stood in the dark alley, waving her hand to let the bodyguards leave. She smiled and said, "Thank you for putting in a lot of trouble. As a gesture of goodwill, I should also prepare a gift for you." The fierce ghost floating in mid-air trembled. She feels cold and gloomy all around, even a ghost. At the same time, what gift should Jiang Xunle prepare for the person on the phone? End of this chapter. When did I promise to find you a new body in chapter 10? You are listening at novel-full.audio. When did I promise to find you a new body? In Chapter 10, Jiang's mother's heart was beating like a drum, and a rare feeling of fear arose in her heart. Looking at the phone that had already been hung up across from her, she couldn't recall it for a long time. Jiang Yuanyuan, who was weak in bed, saw her frightened like this. Her eyes flickered with disdain, but she spoke out comforting, "Mom, what are you afraid of her doing? Sister has always been obedient since she was young. Even if she has a wild temper in the entertainment industry, can she still break through your palm?" This sentence reminded Jiang Mu. Yes. The entertainment industry. Jiang Xunle now looks like she doesn't even know, all because of that dirty place. We absolutely can't let her stay in that place in the entertainment industry anymore, said Jiang Mu. Otherwise, Jiang Xunle will eventually turn the tables. Jiang Yuanyuan pursed his lips and chuckled lightly, "Sister is being praised so high now that I won't listen to your words. What should we do then?" As Jiang Yuanyuan's goal was about to be achieved, she curled her lips and said, "Mom, when my body recovers, you can also let me enter the entertainment industry. I will use public opinion to make my sister withdraw from the industry." Looking back at the words online that praised Jiang Xunle, Jiang Yuanyuan couldn't help but feel jealous. They are all daughters of the Jiang family. Why can't someone who is praised by the stars in the entertainment industry be her? Jiang Mu frowned and said, "But that kind of place, isn't it too unfair to you?" Jiang Yuanyuan shook her head thoughtfully. She will debut under the banner of the Jiang family's daughter, who dares to harass her in the entertainment industry. She wouldn't be as foolish as Jiang Xunle. When she debuted, she didn't take advantage of the power of the Jiang family to enter a cannibalistic place like the entertainment industry. Jiang Xunle fought alone, probably cleaned up by the hidden rules long ago. Thinking of this, the disdain in Jiang Yuanyuan's eyes grew even stronger. She lowered her eyelashes and slid the information on her phone screen. Upon closer inspection, it appears on the official website of the Celestial Master, with a C.level certification for the Celestial Master following the 3 characters, Jiang Yuanyuan. Jiang's mother also saw it, but she didn't understand these level certifications. On the surface, she was proud of Yu Rongyan and said, "Is this female Celestial Master surnamed Jiang they were discussing about you? Yuan is so powerful." The girl on the bed tugged at the corner of her lips unnaturally, "It's me, and I've lived up to the Jiang family's long cultivation." She watched the constantly flashing news and secretly clenched her phone. What S.level Celestial Master? It's just a scam. A group of guys who listen to the wind like rain. Beijing. As soon as Jiang Xunle arrived home, the fierce ghost couldn't wait to float in front of her. With an eager expression on his face, "When will I have a new body?" She was thinking day and night about regaining her freedom, and couldn't wait any longer. New body. Jiang Xunle smiled and pushed the door open. When did I say that? After this sentence fell, the atmosphere inside the room suddenly froze. Li Gui widened his eyes, unable to believe that her existence could also lie. "Are you lying to me?" Jiang Xunle shook his index finger and denied her words. "This is a strategy to slow down, not a scam." The black aura on Li Gui's body surged to the extreme, and he lost his rationality and rushed forward due to anger. Jiang Xunle looked at the fierce ghost that flashed up to him and calmly lifted his leg to kick it over. Under his feet, Hentian was crushing the palm of the fierce ghost, looking down at her from a high position. The smile on his lips seemed to mock the innocence and foolishness of the fierce ghost. Li Gui's eyes were bloodshot. "Why? Why didn't you kill me there? Why did you give me hope and then despair?" "Of course there are too many people there," Jiang Xunle possessed herself, tugging at her tattered collar. "I always have to take care of my own image." The 2 ghosts were extremely close, and at this moment, the fierce ghost completely saw her. That pair of deep phoenix eyes contains too much hypocrisy, interests, indifference. Jiang Xunle leaned in her ear and said slowly, "It's not that I'm not looking for a body for you, but that your usefulness is too low. What can leaving you as an ordinary ghost bring me?" she asked, and Li Gui fell into a brief confusion. Yeah. Existences like Jiang Xunle have countless fierce ghosts under their hands. Jiang Xunle threw her into mid-air, and the body of the fierce ghost was compressed by energy, with its shell torn and hanging in the air. "The benefits of devouring you will be even greater," Jiang Xunle smiled, his usually hooked eyes now resembling a deadly sickle. I saw her palm slowly grip, and the fierce ghost's body tore into pieces in mid-air. The terror in Li Gui's eyes froze in the final scene. Surrounded by a gloomy wind, black mist was inexplicably pulled into Jiang Xunle's body. I don't know how long it took, but after the thick black mist faded, the black atmosphere around Jiang Xunle didn't seem to have changed much. After opening his eyes, Jiang Xunle frowned and said, "It's not very useful. At her level, it will be difficult to improve her strength further." After evacuating the yin energy from the room, Jiang Xunle stood by the balcony and made a decision. In a few minutes, wild ghosts from 100 miles gathered here. They were summoned by the call of powerful peers. "Your Excellency." The majestic Ah Piao spoke respectfully. Jiang Xunle leaned against the balcony and said with a smile, "I have a job. 2 strong ones will stay, and the rest can be scattered. Hey guys, take a look at me and I'll take a look at you." After selecting 2, the rest slipped away. Jiang Xunle drew a formation and let them step on it, instructing, "The target location for this is the Jiang family in Huancheng. You 2 invade into the dream of the Jiang family's mistress and scare her well. It's best to keep her awake for a few days." 2 Ah Piao were stunned and nodded in agreement. One of the more frequent questions was, "Sir, why didn't you just kill her?" Jiang Xunle patiently replied, "When I find the next toy, she will be useless." Subsequently, the white light of the completed formation flashed by, and the 2 Ah Piao disappeared without a trace. Jiang Xunle returned to the window and poured a glass of wine on his own, taking out a mirror. In the mirror, there is a vivid scene of 2 Ah Piao arriving at Huan City. Watching them swiftly enter the Jiang family villa without causing any disturbance. Jiang's master bedroom. Tonight, the head of the Jiang family stayed out, and there was only Jiang's mother in the room. At this moment, Jiang's mother was already asleep, dreaming of her daughter becoming a respected celestial master. But when 2 strands of black mist penetrated her mind, the image of her dream changed. Jiang Yuanyuan, who became the leader of the Heavenly Master, was seriously injured and bleeding profusely during a mission. They couldn't contact Jiang Xunle, so Jiang Yuanyuan turned around and didn't recognize anyone. He tied himself up and forcibly transfused him, completely ignoring her life and death at an advanced age. My daughter, who was usually close to me, has become completely unfamiliar to me, with an ugly expression on her face. Jiang's mother's forehead was sweating cold, and she wanted to open her eyes. Her whole body was working hard to wake herself up. End of this chapter.